A guy who built his entire career blowing up cars on the internet just got handed a ride at one of the most storied teams in NASCAR history. Not a test. Not a one-off deal. A 2-year contract. And the racing world is absolutely split down the middle. Richard Childress Racing, the team of Dale Earnhardt, the home of 6 Cup championships, handed the number 33 Chevrolet to a YouTuber. Cletus McFarland is behind the wheel, and the first race is set for April 4th at Rockingham Speedway. This is not just a feel-good story. There are real safety concerns, real critics with real arguments, and real stakes on one of the most dangerous tracks on the entire schedule. So let's break down exactly who Cletus McFarland is, what is already done, and why this story is bigger than anyone expected. Garrett Mitchell, the man behind the Cletus McFarland brand, is 30 years old and from Bradenton, Florida. He built the Cletus McFarland YouTube channel to nearly 5 million subscribers and owns and operates the Freedom Factory, his own private racetrack. Before anyone dismisses him as just a content creator, the facts say something very different. At the 2025 World Cup Finals, Mitchell drove his 1969 Camaro nicknamed Eagle to a speed of 261 miles per hour on radial tires, making it the fastest radial tire car in the world. That car is currently listed for sale at $425,000 and has been raced only 3 times. At TX2K26 in Texas, he showed up driving his famous Corvette named Ruby and won the street car class outright. Kevin Harvick watched the entire run and went on record with a clear assessment, calling Cletus an absolute rock star. These are not the credentials of someone who stumbled into racing. These are the credentials of a record-setting driver who happens to also make videos. The organized motorsport resume is equally important to understand. In the 2025 ARCA series, Mitchell drove the number 30 car for Rhett Jones Racing. His debut at Daytona ended in a wreck, but the post-race interview became one of the most talked-about moments of the entire season. In his own words, "I was having the best day of my life riding around Daytona like a bald eagle." Kevin Harvick and his podcast crew voted it the single best viral moment of the 2025 season, and over 800,000 people watched his in-car live stream that day alone. He made 5 total ARCA starts in 2025, posted top 10 finishes at both Talladega and Charlotte, and recorded a best result of 9th at Charlotte. That is a real on-track result at a real NASCAR-sanctioned track, not a parking lot stunt. Then came the NASCAR Truck Series debut in February 2026. Mitchell drove the number 4 truck for Nice Motorsports at Daytona and qualified 12th, a genuinely surprising result for any first-time Truck Series driver. He crashed out 6 laps in after following a smoking car too closely, finishing 37th. What happened next is what separates a racer from a hobbyist. The very next day, he raced ARCA again at Daytona, and when the car in front of him started smoking, he backed off. He finished 11th. He corrected the exact same mistake in less than 24 hours. His truck race drew 1.387 million viewers and peaked at over 1.6 million, making it the most watched Truck Series race since 2016. Tony Stewart and Travis Pastrana were also in the field that day. Kevin Harvick said the entire event had an old-school feel. Those viewer numbers are not something veteran drivers routinely generate. They are historic for the series. The Richard Childress Racing deal did not happen overnight or by accident. It started with a phone call from Ty Dillon, who drives for Calling Racing and is also the grandson of Richard Childress himself. About a year before the announcement, Ty found Cletus on social media and reached out directly. On the Gluckcast podcast, Ty explained his approach plainly. "I called him. I was like, hey man, what do you think about this idea?" He asked Cletus about his goals, and Cletus said he loves superspeedways and wants to race in the Daytona 500. Ty had one condition before pushing the deal forward: "We would only want to do this if you can stay original to who you are. We wouldn't want this to take you off of who Cletus is." Ty Dillon, Gluckcast podcast, and the defining line from Dillon: "If we're not having fun doing this whole project, we're failing." The deal was officially announced in early March 2026. Mitchell will run 3 races per year for 2 years, all at superspeedway events, Rockingham, Daytona, and Talladega. The car is the number 33 Tommy's Express Car Wash Chevrolet, with Tommy's Express Car Wash signed on as the primary sponsor. His teammates at RCR are Jesse Love and Austin Hill, who are currently 1st and 2nd in the Xfinity Championship standings. This was a relationship built over more than a year, with a clear strategic structure behind it. The criticism from inside NASCAR is not something to wave off. These are experienced professionals raising specific, technical objections. The Door Bumper Clear podcast with Freddie Kraft and Tommy Baldwin addressed the situation directly. Kraft asked a pointed question: are we trying to get the best race car drivers on the racetrack, or are we trying to get the biggest social media following? He added that Cletus is not ready for what he is doing, and critically, he directed the blame at NASCAR, not at Cletus personally. Baldwin's position was straightforward: follow the development system like every other driver. Denny Hamlin, one of the most experienced active Cup Series drivers, called Cletus out of control at Daytona. Brad Keselowski questioned how NASCAR approves drivers for the Xfinity and Truck Series. Kyle Petty criticized the entire development ladder structure that allowed this to happen at all. These are not random internet comments. These are people who have spent decades in the sport raising professional objections that deserve to be treated seriously. Cletus addressed the criticism directly on a podcast with Dale Earnhardt Jr. His response: people can say whatever they want, but when I keep coming back every time and they realize that their words don't affect me time and time again, they're going to run out of breath. That is not a dismissal, it is a statement of intent from someone who has continued to show up and improve every single time. Rockingham Speedway on April 4 is where the debate stops being theoretical. Mark Martin went on record with a detailed, specific breakdown of why this track is so dangerous. He described Rockingham as high-banked and extremely fast, not a place where anyone learns on the fly. Martin explained the timing problem precisely: a driver has to lift at exactly the right moment going into corners and get back on the gas at exactly the right moment coming off. His warning about Turn 2 was explicit: if you pick up the gas too early coming off Turn 2, the wall comes at you before you can even react. And at that point, there's nothing you can do. He called it wicked fast and said surviving there requires understanding, not just speed. His best-case scenario for Cletus at Rockingham was to qualify in the back half, stay out of trouble, and bring the car home in one piece. The testing results make this warning more than theoretical. During his Rockingham test, Mitchell touched the wall coming out of Turn 2, the exact spot Martin had flagged. He also nearly crashed during pre-Daytona testing. These incidents are documented. The critics are not inventing a danger that does not exist. Rockingham is legitimately one of the most demanding and unforgiving tracks on the entire schedule, and the consequences of a mistake there are immediate and severe. Inside the garage, however, the picture is more nuanced than the public debate suggests. Just days before this script was written, Ryan Preece posted a video that went viral across racing social media. The video showed Preece, Cletus, Brad Keselowski, and Chris Buescher drafting Crown Vics at Talladega, hitting 159 miles per hour on the back straightaway together. Preece's caption said everything: when I made it as a Cup driver, I didn't think one of the highlights of my career would be pushing Cletus McFarland to 159 miles per hour in Crown Vics at Talladega. Active Cup Series drivers spending on-track time with Mitchell at Talladega is not a coincidence or a publicity stunt. It is a signal about how he is actually perceived inside the sport's inner circle. Kenny Wallace summarized the situation without any ambiguity on his show: the joke is on us because he's got it figured out. Kevin Harvick also gave Mitchell a direct lesson in what it means to race for Richard Childress Racing. Harvick brought up the well-known story of Childress punching Kyle Busch after Busch wrecked one of his drivers, framing it as an example of the toughness the organization demands. Harvick asked Cletus directly what he would do if someone spun him out on the track. Cletus did not hesitate: I mean, look, if I got to fight in the pits to be on RCR, I'll do it. That answer landed exactly the way it was intended to. NASCAR has been fighting a viewership and relevance battle for over a decade. The 1.6 million peak viewers Mitchell's truck debut pulled on numbers that most veteran drivers do not move the needle on in the Truck Series. Whether fans agree with the arrangement or not, Cletus McFarland is bringing new audiences to the sport in measurable, documented numbers. The traditional development system has produced great drivers for generations. What Ty Dillon and Richard Childress Racing did was build a different kind of pathway, one built on a real relationship, a clear sponsor structure, and a driver who has already shown he can learn and adapt at the track. His goal is the Daytona 500. His critics say he does not belong. His results say the conversation is more complicated than either side wants to admit. On April 4 at Rockingham, the number 33 Tommy's Express Chevrolet lines up at one of the most unforgiving tracks in racing, with a driver who was told no by most of the sport, except the grandson of Richard Childress. Whatever happens that day, the numbers, the results, and the garage footage have already made one thing clear: this story is not going away. If you have been following this situation and want to see where it goes next, subscribe to this channel. We cover NASCAR every single week, breaking down the stories, the numbers, and the moments behind the headlines that actually matter. If this breakdown gave you something you did not already know, hit the like button. It makes a genuine difference for this channel. And drop your take in the comments right now. Does Cletus McFarland deserve his shot at Rockingham, or are the critics right? This debate is not settled yet, and every perspective counts.